Let's observe silence for some time. Oh, chapter 3, topic 4, attachment is calamitous. So we have discussed the introduction to this topic, and then it talks about four pronounced attachments. So we have discussed the first, wealth. So just to get a quick recap of what we had discussed so far. So when we say attachment is calamitous, what we need to understand is what's happening to us internally. So the whole chain of thoughts starts with self-centered thought. I mean, innocuous thought, but it starts with that. That I want this, I want that from the world, objects and beings of the world. So you want to acquire them. When you acquire, you become possessive about them. And then the host of emotions follow to maintain that attachment. There's a fear of losing the object of your attachment. We already discussed all that. Number one. Number two, not only you are attached, but you're not aware that you are profoundly attached. So that is deadly. It's like you have a disease and you're not aware you have a disease. So you are attached to practically everything, which we call as general attachment. But there are certain areas where attachment is really profound. So these profound attachments, one by one, we are analyzing. So last week we analyzed attachment to wealth. There are a lot of points here, at least 10, 12 points are there which you need to understand and think about them. So when we say wealth, people misunderstand that how can you live your life without wealth. So it's a commodity which is necessary for your sustenance. So the problem is not wealth. Problem is attachment to wealth, craving for wealth, greed for wealth. So that's the problem. And that's what brings about entire degeneration of your personality. So that's what Oliver Goldsmith he says, where wealth accumulates, men decay. It's not wealth is responsible for decadence of your personality. Where wealth accumulates, meaning where you are attached, where you are possessive, you become greedy. There is craving for wealth. That's that craving, that attachment, that possessiveness brings about your downfall in life. You don't have peace, and also little downfall it may bring about when it is pronounced. So then we saw how when you're attached to wealth, each stage associated with wealth could be a pain. Acquisition of wealth is never peaceful if you're attached. Is understood, because enough is never enough. So that acquisition goes on throughout your life. Any amount of wealth, any quantum of wealth you get, it is not enough. It's nothing to do with quantum. If it was so, life will be very simple. So acquisition of wealth is painful if you're attached. To conserve wealth, preserve wealth also is painful. Profit and loss, financial market goes up and down. It's but natural. So you can't handle that. And also spending could be a problem if you're attached to wealth. So therefore, wealth is personified as a goblin, ugly creature. Kubera. Also, the same wealth is personified as goddess Lakshmi, which is virtuous. So it's contradiction for us to think. So how do you handle wealth? You need to be content with what you have throughout your life and be progressive. How can you not be progressive in your own field? Be dynamic, be active. But if you are not content with what you have right now, you can never be content in your life. But that is not what is happening. People are linking their present happiness to future acquisition. So that's the problem. So any amount of wealth you acquire, you can never be happy in the present. So be content with what you have. Just stay focused on your career, whatever profession you are in, have higher ideal in that, and be committed to achieve that ideal. And obviously you will get X amount of wealth when you in that pursuit. So be content with that, enjoy that wealth, whatever that quantum may be. And at the same time, you have to be progressive. As a human being, how can you not be progressive? So it fulfills both your needs. You acquire wealth, your wealth also increases, and also you are able to enjoy wealth. You are content. So these were the main points which we discussed. So any questions? So all clear? All right. So next is he talks about attachment to women, meaning spouse, partner. So we'll read the first paragraph and try to understand the message.
Women. A human being's attachment to the opposite sex is intense. When a male and a female settle down in a life's partnership, they develop an attachment, infatuation, obsession for each other. And what follows attachment is a corroding sense of possessiveness. Little do they realize that attachment and possessiveness leads them to breaking up the relationship. The world is thus inflicted with disharmony, disagreement, and divorce. The renowned philosopher Khalil Gibran cautions humanity with his wise words. Marriage is a temple resting on two pillars. If they come too close to each other, the temple will collapse.
Khalil Gibran. It's a very interesting quote on relationship. Now, what you need to understand is nothing wrong with relationship. Relationship is not a problem. We're talking about a spouse or a partner, husband or a wife. It is attachment and possessiveness is the problem. Just like wealth. Wealth per se is not a problem. But if you get attached to wealth, if you become possessive about wealth, then problem starts. So similarly, if you feel you need a partner, there is nothing wrong with that. So you need to assess your personality. There is no yes or no answer. It depends on each one's constitution. In fact, in the book The Fall of the Human Intellect, Swamiji has discussed there are, I think, 5 or 6 major reasons. So you need to assess yourself. So any of those reasons they apply to you. For example, you need companionship, you need security. I'm just mentioning 2 or 3, you know. Maybe you have a desire for a child. So for that, you definitely need a partner. As far as you are concerned, you need that experience. You have to go through that. And if you handle it carefully, it will help you to evolve. So it will take care of your desires, take care of your needs, and eventually you will come out of it. It will give you that support system. But that does not mean everybody has to go through the experience of a relationship. So you need to find out. I mean, there is like every religion has got monks. There is nothing wrong in being a monk, but if you're not designed for it, it's a disaster. So you need to find out whether you need a partner or not. So once you do that, then you need to understand that partnership is means to an end. So both partners they should help each other to evolve spiritually. That's the only aim of any relationship. So when we say help each other to evolve spiritually, meaning make each other self-sufficient. But if you're attached, is exactly the opposite. First of all, you are dependent on your spouse, and you make him or her more dependent on you. So that is where Khalil Gibran comes in. He says marriage is a temple. He doesn't say marriage is a circus. I'm magnifying. He's saying it's a temple, it's a holy institution, it's a useful institution, resting on two pillars, husband and wife. If they come too close to each other, then the problem starts. Then the temple will collapse. But if pillars are where they are supposed to be, I mean, it's the entire structure will stand forever. So you need to understand that purpose of any relationship, we're talking about partnership here, is to evolve spiritually. There is no other purpose. And you should use that relationship as means to an end. Are we clear? And then the thought flow continues.
Attachment to one's family has become a menacing reality, defying the least detection among humans. Spouses suffocate themselves, sticking to each other at all times. Never do they leave any space between themselves to operate on their own. They must cling to each other all day long. They would hold hands. They would sit together, walk together, wine together, dine together, literally ride on each other's back. The children observe their parents doing it all the time and blindly copy it. They fail to realize that familiarity breeds contempt. The suffocating closeness causes the relationship to fall apart. It's a question of time. It is rather difficult, if not impossible, to educate even the educated on the value and grandeur of living a mature life of mental detachment. What it means to provide space between two individuals. The space that gives them the breather, the freedom, the joy of living together. None conceives such behavior as an expression of true love, a practical way of a beautiful and enduring relationship.
So he's explaining, as it were, the quotation of Khalil Gibran, how to give that space. So if you don't give that space to each other, I mean, constantly you're hovering around each other, it will last for a while. Initially, it will last a couple of years. Then, when you get suffocatingly close, that is where the problem starts. And that is what couples they don't understand. That they feel we are loving each other. Actually, it's possessiveness. You want to hold on to each other. So no human being can handle that beyond a point. So therefore, he gives that example. It's like riding on somebody's back all the time. Mentally, you are doing that. Physically, it is easy, you know. Even if you love your pet, let's say 25, 30 pound pet. I mean, how long you can carry the pet on your back? Maybe half an hour, 1 hour. After a while, you'll say, honey, please get off, you know. So that's what couples they are doing to each other. And familiarity breeds contempt. I mean, we all know that this doesn't need any explanation. But if you go few generations above us, parents, our grandparents, you hardly found any, they never held on to each other. They were all the time together, but you know, each one had his or her own life, isn't it? It becomes easy if you look at grandparents' generation. And the concept of separation or divorce was unknown, unheard. Nobody knew what is divorce. Even in America, if you go 40, 50 years back, 60 years back, and what was the percentage of divorce? Negligible. Now it is 60, 70%. So nobody understands the reason, the psychology behind it. So that's what he is telling us, a practical way of beautiful and enduring relationship. See, it is sickening, you know. I mean, every day you come home and your spouse is saying, you know, I want to spend time with you, I want to spend time with you. Fine, initially it sounds very romantic, but after a while you will say, honey, I love you, but leave me alone. You know, you want to go play golf. No, no, you must come and do. There's a couples yoga in Lifetime. Oh, fine, you like yoga, you do. I mean, what's wrong with that? But I want my space. I want to go and play golf. Man needs a golf and maybe, I don't know, a couple of drinks or whatever they do after, you know, or men when they get together. So if you give each other a space, I mean, it's beautiful. You like golf, you play golf. She likes parties or yoga or whatever. That's what it means. It's nothing to do with quantum of time. It's to do with quality of time. You may spend few hours in a day or in a week, But if you have that genuine feeling for each other, I mean, how does it matter? There's nothing to do with quantum of time. And then in the next paragraph, he gives an example. It is an extreme example, but it is a real life example anyway. So try to digest what he's saying. But what he's telling us is, if you are detached, I mean, how can you handle any relationship as opposed to when you're attached? So this relationship should have broken long time back. I mean, shouldn't have lasted. But how it was revived because of that built-in detachment. So try to understand the spirit of that example. But it's a real life example. This person was known to Swamiji, my guru, and he confessed to him, this is what happened in his personal life, and he was shocked to see how could it happen. So let's listen to the example.
Here is an unprecedented story of a young married couple which took place in 1970 in Mumbai, India. A girl of 30 and a doctor husband of 36 enjoyed a happy married life. 6 years after marriage, something incredible happened in their lives. The doctor was involved with another girl. Having started an affair with her, he mentioned it to his wife. He would take leave of her every Saturday night to visit his lady love. The wife, beautiful and loving as she was, would willingly let him go while she slept peacefully at home. And then something unimaginable took place. The wife expressed a concern that if drives home late every Saturday night in the heavy traffic after consuming his drinks, she lovingly pleaded, "Darling, why don't you sleep in our house and return fresh in the morning?" The man was taken aback by the wife's genuine concern. The next weekend, he visited the lady friend and could not relate to her sensually. He explained what had happened. Never again would he go to her or any other woman in his lifetime. Few understand the value of detachment. A great Indian sage, Swami Ramatirtha, would tirelessly educate people on this impeccable law of life. The way to gain anything is to lose it. But people in their ignorance must cling on to their spouses only to lose their relationship.
To underline that statement, the way to gain anything is to lose it. So if you compare this with Andre del Sarto, we all have done that poem, right? He was absolutely possessive about his wife. So he lost that relationship. I don't know how many of you are able to relate to this example, but it's a real life example. So that's the power of detachment. I mean, genuinely, you can't fake it. So he understood his mistake, that man. But what am I doing? And incidentally, they had a happy relationship. I mean, that couple, I think they passed away 10 years back, but it's a true story. So are we okay? And then he continues. So he's going to talk about the poem. the pineapple and the bee. So, first, he talked about attachment to wealth. Now, he's talking about attachment to a spouse or a partner. It's called as acquisition and enjoyment. In Adi Shankaracharya's book Bhajagovindam, he describes it as Kanchana and Kamini. So these are the two main motivations for any human being. Kanchana is wealth, Kamini is woman or enjoyment. So, how these two motivations, two attachments can wreak havoc in your life, and in most cases, it does. People have all sorts of issues as far as wealth is concerned. Even if you don't have wealth, it is a problem. Even if you have wealth, in fact, it's a bigger headache. So, similarly, relationship. Hardly anybody is able to find peace, harmony, contentment in a relationship. So, that's what he's going to discuss. And to substantiate that, he's going to introduce the poem, The Pineapple and the Bee by William Cowper. So that's the thought flow. Please continue.
The two powerful attachments to wealth and women have been well captured by the English poet William Cowper in his outstanding poem, The Pineapple and the Bee. Cowper portrays the attachment for wealth in a penniless maid craving for the glittering wear, watches and bracelets, rings and lockets behind the show glass, and her depression at her helplessness to acquire them. As for attachment to woman, he pictures a man pining at the sight of a beautiful damsel seated between two glasses in a passing chariot. Thus, man and woman are totally lost in pursuit of their desires for forbidden objects and beings. The poet deftly compares their desires to that of a bee, trying vainly to reach the rows of pineapples in a glass frame. The bee spends half a day desperately attempting to consume the pineapples not meant for it. There lies the madness of mankind. Half their lives, humans exhaust themselves searching for pleasure and joy in wealth and woman. Some, frustrated in not fulfilling their desires, spend the rest of their lives in distress and depression. Some dare to break moral and legal barriers to satisfy their overpowering desires and pay for it bitterly in their lives.
Continue.
Few realize there lies no pleasure or joy in the external world, and that all happiness lies in the resource of wisdom within you. The poet summarizes this profound thought in the concluding lines, that those who are upright and wise shall find peace and happiness within themselves and not be dependent on external factors in the world. The poem. The Pineapple and the Bee. The pineapples in triple row were basking hot and all in blow. A bee of most discerning taste perceived the fragrance as he passed. On eager wing the spoiler came and searched for crannies in the frame, urged his attempt every side, to every pane his trunk applied, but still in vain the frame was tight and only pervious to the light. Thus, having wasted half the day, he trimmed his flight another way. Methinks I said, in thee I find the sin and madness of mankind. To joys forbidden man aspires, consumes his soul with vain desires. Folly, the spring of his pursuit, and disappointment, all the fruit. While Cynthia ogles as she passes, the nymph between two chariot glasses, she is the pineapple, and he the silly, unsuccessful bee. The maid who views with pensive air the show glass fraught with glittering ware, sees watches, bracelets, rings, and lockets, but sighs at thought of empty pockets. Like thine, her appetite is keen, but the cruel glass between. Our dear delights are often such, exposed to view but not to touch. The sight our foolish heart inflames, we long for pineapples in frames. With hopeless wish, one looks and lingers, one breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. William Cowper.
So, very philosophical poem. So, he's highlighting its two main motivations: wealth and woman or relationship. Folly, the spring of his pursuit, meaning your starting point itself is wrong. That is what it means. So, you believe happiness is in wealth. So, how can you find happiness? It's not possible. Similarly, in a relationship, you selfishly try to relate to another person, your spouse. You can never find happiness. We keep on saying, if you do your duties, that relationship will blossom. But if you claim your rights, this is how people try to find happiness. This is my right. Between husband and wife, I am talking about. That relationship has to perish. And then you believe that something is wrong with wealth, something is wrong with another person, and you can remain frustrated for the rest of your life. So find out internally what is happening to you. Just look at the world, how some people are absolutely miserable because they cannot find happiness in a relationship, in the personal relationship. It is not there, first of all. That's what he says. There is no happiness in the external world. It all depends on how you relate to objects and beings of the world. So if you relate selfishly, there is no way you can find contentment. And there are people who change partners to find happiness. 6 times married, 7 times married, 8 times married. I mean, it's not unheard of. I think Richard Burton, right, that famous actor, 8 times he married. And same lady he married twice, Elizabeth Taylor, and divorced twice. Understood. So it's not in the object or a being. So therefore, the last lines are important. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. In weed, where is honey? I mean, it's poetry. You can be happy in any situation, wealth, let's say. Be content with what you have. That's the practical explanation. Even in a relationship, if you do your duties, if you genuinely identify with your partner and serve the partner, not foolishly using your intellect, how can there be no happiness? There has to be harmony, contentment. So, therefore, that example, I mean, 99.99% would have divorced that man, but she could find happiness, she could gather honey from a weed. Are you with me? And the whole world would have supported her. I mean, how can you live with that man? I mean, he's having a mistress and you're married. What kind of a character is that? But he was a good man. Yeah, yes, he had that weakness. We're not saying it's right or wrong, but any situation can be handled like this because your happiness is within you. But if you don't understand this, with hopeless wish, one looks and lingers, one breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. So, again, it is applicable for both. There are people who will do anything to earn wealth. They will break moral, legal barriers. I mean, so many times we hear and get into serious trouble. Sometimes the entire life is ruined. Same thing in a relationship. You are happily married, you have got a really lovely spouse, and there are people who have extramarital affairs and marriage is ruined. I've seen so many examples. So that's the practical explanation. One breaks the glass and cuts his fingers. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. So what you need is this knowledge of Vedanta. You understand that there is no happiness in the external world to begin with, and then also this knowledge tells you how to relate to the world. So till you get to that state, you're happy. Otherwise, you will never experience happiness is within you, and also you will remain miserable for the rest of your life. So therefore, that statement, folly the spring of his pursuit. So fascinating line. Meaning your direction itself is wrong. So once the direction is wrong, it doesn't matter what you do. Everything is wrong. The effect is going to be negative, counterproductive. So why waste time? So he's dramatizing it. That honeybee wasted whole life. And then it realized that though no, it can't enter inside. That pudding is not for me. There's a glass in between. This is what people are trying to do. Whole life they spend trying to find happiness in the external world, in objects and beings of the world, wealth and relationship in this context. So are we okay? This poem is for reflection. There is not much to explain. So that is why we have this question and answer session. If something is not clear, I mean, you have the opportunity to bring up your doubts and also you can discuss among yourselves. So we have that small group discussion format. That is where you get into the deeper understanding and analysis. So all good? No questions? Okay, great. Then the next attachment, I am really scared even to discuss this, children, because I know it's not going to have any impact. I mean, there are chances that 99% of you will misunderstand, but I'm going to take it up for 1% who may suspect that perhaps I need to correct myself. That is all. So again, nothing wrong with children. They're beautiful. It's your obsession with children, it's your attachment, possessiveness with children, which spells disaster. So step by step is going to educate us. Let's read the first paragraph, please.
Children. Children are the most affected victims of attachment exhibited by their parents. The love that the parents bear for their children has metamorphosed into the dreadful form of attachment. This is happening universally because of the selfish trait in parents. The parental attachment to their beloved ones has turned into a deadly virus now sweeping the entire world. Few can claim to be free from the parents' compulsive attachment to their kids. However well meaning they be, their attachment turns the parent child relationship sour and destructive, causing families all over to go through trauma, constant confrontation between them, invariably ending in separation. The parents, being innocent, have no clue of the effects accruing from what they claim as love and care for their dear ones. Blissfully unaware of consequences, they dote on their beloved ones. Ironically, animals display maturity in their behavior towards their offspring. They do love and take care of the young, but leave them alone no sooner they feel they are grown and can take care of themselves. Only humans cling to their kids even after they reach their maturity. The virus of attachment not only infects one's children, grandchildren, but goes further down the line. Both parties are unaware of this universally spread virus, an epidemic that is taking its toll on humans.
Right. Now, again, if you are attached to children, that's what he is discussing, then you will mess up your life and their life. Are you with me? If you're attached, if you are possessive about your children, which 99.99% are, the first victim is you. You will be miserable. You can never be happy in that relationship. And also you will mess up your own children's life. And the problem is why it is difficult to understand, because you feel you are genuinely caring for them, which is a fact. It's not that you are not caring, it's not that there is no love, there is affection, but the whole thing is self centered. That is the difficulty in understanding. And one in 10,000 understands this. I mean, my job is done, or the author's job is done. He has conveyed the message. So if you go to the very starting point, why do you want to have children? Again, there is nothing right or wrong. Vedanta is not saying you should not have children. People misunderstand. But you must understand the starting point. Why do you want to have a child or children? Sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever. So why do you want to have a child? Can anybody answer that question? See, if you understand that, rest of the topic is easy. If you don't understand the starting point, any number of explanation from me is not going to help you. So why do you want to have a child? Again, it's not right or wrong. Don't take discussion in that direction. Why? What is the psychology? Why do you want to have a child?
To satisfy one's own ego, Abhijit. That my child, mine, to satisfy that. One of the things.
Okay. What else? No parents here? I mean, I'm the only one who is not having a child, so I'm actually not competent to answer this question. I should not.
I think we've been conditioned by society to, we have to have kids, right? If you don't have kids, there's something wrong. So I think it's just we've been conditioned by society that we need kids.
No, you're right, but what is that conditioning? What is the psychology behind that conditioning?
Pass on love, care, wealth, traditions. That's what the society made us to think, without having children, how you're going to pass this on. Might not be the main reason, but one of the reasons I would think.
Yeah, but then why not pass it on to other children? Wealth, love, affection. There's millions of children in the world.
Yeah, we are selfish in that we want our own, I guess.
Mhm.
To I think to carry on the family tree, like we'll have then we'll have grandchildren, great grandchildren, so our
Mhm.
legacy will carry on.
What is
And
that legacy?
I mean that's what the
Others are carrying on legacies. Why you
society.
have to carry your legacy also? Answer is correct, but why?
Yeah. I think there's ego also in that involved. I can see that there's a lot of ego, which is not right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, I mean, all are correct answers. So the reason behind having a child is you want your brand of stamp. That's it. Any other stamp will not do. However good or bad other stamps are, no, I want my brand of stamp. So therefore, you produce a child is nothing but extension of your ego. So you see yourself reflected in your child. So that's the psychology. Child is nothing but extension of you, your mirror image. So when you are pampering your child, when you are attached to your child, when you are possessive about your child, actually you are possessive about yourself. So that's the psychology. So when you are pampering your child, when you are catering to your child throughout your life, you are actually catering to yourself. There's nothing wrong with love and affection. If it is love and affection, any child will do. I mean, you can, have feelings for any child in the world. But that's not the case. You need your own child, meaning you need your own mirror image. So that is the psychology. So you want your own brand of stamp, and then you're attached to and possessive about that. So that's the starting point. But the feeling of love and affection, that is genuine, even if you have a child. But that selfishness is the problem. So I don't know whether I am able to convey that. So if you are able to understand and analyze that, then it will be a beautiful relationship. So his parents' attachment to children is a problem. Nothing wrong with children. And that's what he's telling us. What they genuinely and sincerely claim as love, that you need to examine. If you examine, what will you see? Actually, is nothing but total selfishness. So, due to that selfishness, that relationship turns sour. That's what he's explaining. I mean, no child beyond a point can handle that, isn't it? Constantly you are after them. And that's what he's going to analyze in detail. So, due to that selfishness, I'm repeating myself, that selfishness spoils the relationship. Conflicts, confrontation, that's what I mean. So, due to that self centeredness, you cling on to children. And that selfishness, children detest. They are not detesting you. Are you getting it? They love you. But what they cannot handle is your possessiveness, that selfishness. And sometimes you don't leave them at all. I mean, I've given so many examples. Baby, the baby could be 55. Mother calls and, did you have food? Are you drinking milk? Who will do your laundry now? I mean, he has three kids, but she used to do his laundry when he was a baby. So she's afraid that wife is not taking care of him. So that's what creates confrontation between husband and wife, and the typical equation you get, mother and mother-in-law. Why that problem? Because the mother does not let go. So that clinging attachment. Many children, they don't pick up their parents' phone call. I mean, I can give you 10 examples. I'm sure you will give me 5 more examples. The moment they say mom, oh my God, if they don't pick up phone, and you'll go on calling. And nowadays, due to technology, it's very, very easy. I mean, constantly the video could be on. At least 15, 20 years back, 30 years back, technology saved us. There's no way of calling. There were no cell phones, nothing. And forget about cell phones. I mean, constantly you could hold all day long, you could be having a Zoom call. That's the problem. So they don't get their own time. They don't get their own freedom. I mean, I used to do these sessions for the youth. I mean, every year we did for a long time, 10, 12, 15 years, I have done that. And I'm talking about a session which I did in like Toronto, long time back. I mean, 16, 17 years back. So one young girl, maybe she was 17, 18 or 19, she was telling me that her parents, there's a rule in their house that every 30 minutes she has to call her parents. Every 30 minutes she has to call her parents. And if she does not call within 30 minutes, one of them will call her. I mean, what kind of a life is that? And that girl, at the age of, I think, 20, she left her parents' house. She was waiting. But till then, you're not self-sufficient. The moment she started earning some kind of money, the first thing she did was she dropped her parents. But I remember, during question and answer session, she asked this question to me. I mean, my life has become hell. These are the words she used. I can't go anywhere. I can't go out with my friends, nothing. Every 30 minutes, my parents will check on me. And incidentally, I knew parents. I mean, they were class members, friends. Their point was, she's a girl, therefore we are concerned. If she was a boy, we wouldn't have bothered, which I don't believe. Maybe instead of 30 minutes, would have been 1 hour. That is all. So imagine, this is the definition of you cling on to them. Even after marriage, you cling on to them. Good many marriages fall apart because of parents. You don't let go your boy or a girl. And then he discusses the parents' attachment to their children manifests in 2 distinct ways. So that is the next analysis. So one set of parents, they go on pampering, opulent parents. Opulent means everybody. Another way is you control them. Do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. So what happens? So what's the time? 6:50, sorry, 10:55. No, I don't think we have enough time. So any doubts from what we have covered so far? All clear? Saying everybody is a picture of detachment or a picture of attachment. I don't know. Has to be something. If you are detached, then you don't need this. If you are attached, still you don't need this because you will not understand it anyway. All right. So Raji, note down, we'll start with this paragraph. The parents' attachment to their children manifests in two different ways.
Yes, Amiji.
So what are the two different ways? Is like pampering and spoiling them, and second is controlling. So that's what he's going to discuss. When you pamper them and spoil them, how dangerous it is. In fact, you're ruining them innocently. And if you're controlling them, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. If the child is aggressive, he will rebel against you. Most children, they rebel, especially the Western children. They're by nature, they're aggressive, so they rebel against their parents. But if child is passive, he becomes a vegetable. That is worst. Good for nothing, useless. You make him, there's nothing wrong with child. You make him or her that way. So that is the analysis. So should we conclude for today? All right, great. So I'll see you on next Sunday, but try to read. We have covered a lot of ground today. So these 4 to 5 pages, try to read. If something is not clear, you can bring it up next week before we start a class. All right, so have a great day, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Amaji.